and also repeat the question.
If it's possible, like let's see an example. Tell me.
Why do you think young people engage in violence? If you can say, I think young people engage in violence because what?
Yeah, that would be great. Perfect. Right. Go for it.
Cool. Hi, so please tell me a little bit about yourself, your organisation and the role that you have in it.
So my name's Annie Oliver and I'm Community Inclusion Manager at an organisation called Barton Hill Settlement. And I have worked in Bristol for 30 years supporting families in the inner city, and I manage a parenting programme called Strengthening Families, Strengthening Communities, which is a violence prevention programme for parents. It's a parenting programme, and that was written in the States after the violence in South Central Los Angeles quite some time ago, and it's been adapted, brought in by the Race Equality Foundation, and that's one of the reasons I've been invited here today, because of my work with that programme.
Thank you very much. And why do you think young people engage in violence?
It's a very interesting question. I think young people engage with youth violence for many, many complex reasons, and it would be great if we could say it's because of that and that. Actually, it would make our lives a lot easier, but it's around intergenerational violence, it's around parenting, lack of parenting support, it's about the environment, it's about police response, it's about youth provision, it's about peer pressure, it's about education, youth services. I could go on. I think there are an awful lot of reasons. I think for me the main thing, if you want to prevent youth violence, we have to get involved with families when children are really young and support parents and children all the way through their lives.
Thank you, I totally agree with that. What strategy do you / your organisation adopt when tackling youth violence, and why?
So I work for a community anchor organisation, which means that we work with people from cradle to grave. So it's about the whole community. So we do a community canvas where we go out and talk to everybody in the community once a year. Well, I say everybody, but as many people as we can. All of our staff go out and we ask people, how is it living here? And what do you think of our services? And what services do you think we need? Now, by directly talking to people, we find out what the need is so that we can respond to it. And everybody where I work talks about youth and about provision for young people, and that's from quite young people right through to older people who can see it. They can see that young people don't have enough provision, because when there isn't enough provision, they're hanging around in the bottom of the flats, in the stairwells, in the parks, they're not in youth clubs. So I think it's about including everybody rather than seeing, play is for one silo, youth is for one silo, family work is for another group, parenting support is for another group. It's about a community approach and asset-based community development and community organising, so that everybody is involved in looking at what the issues are for the community and finding out what the solutions are together.
Great, thank you very much. What have you learned from this method that you're adopting, and are there any ways that you think it can be improved?
What I've learned is that you get engagement from people if you involve them at the very beginning, rather than providing services that you're doing to rather than with. People don't like that, we know that. And then what would make it work better? It's a little bit crude, but more funding. You cannot cut the money. We have to be able to provide workers, spaces, resources, equipment. We have to. And if you take that from people, then you will have problems. So I would say you get social return on investment. If the government invests in families and communities, it will cost them less in the long run. It will cost them less with all the services that have to come into play when things go wrong.
Thank you very much. And finally, what do you think is most important to effectively tackling youth crime?
What's most important? I think lots of things are important, and it's so complex, and there are so many key stakeholders to include that it's really hard to say one thing. But I suppose right now, with austerity measures and with communities really struggling with the impact of that on their own personal finances and then on resources in communities, it has to be money, it has to be funding. We have to have governments investing in working with communities.
Great. Thank you very much, Annie.
You're very welcome.
Great. Perfect.
I've done